So my next question is, how much has society's expectations changed how you view about yourself? Noora, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I think it's definitely changed the way that I used to view myself, in the sense that, like, since a young age, I viewed a lot of my worth based off of like what others think. I've definitely changed that mindset, like more like this past summer, because I realized like how damaging it was to my self-esteem and my confidence, and it like prevented me from doing things that I loved, which was like playing soccer. Like usually women aren't like seen to play a sport because they're not masculine like in society. And I found myself fighting against that and just being like, no, I'm gonna do what I love. And I've realized that a lot more just from this past summer since COVID.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. If you love something, you should keep doing it. It doesn't matter what other people think. So I'm really glad that you've figured that out for yourself. And I really hope that other people watching this, or even other people not watching this, eventually figure that out for themselves too, because I think that's something that's really important on the road to happiness, is figuring out that if you love something, you should just keep doing it. Barbara, would you like to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting that when we talk about societal values and expectations, because they're pretty broad. They range from the way we think we're supposed to appear, to the things that we're supposed to be doing, and the goals that we're supposed to have. And they obviously are very cultural, depending on what kind of setting we grew up in our family. So over time, I've realized that all these variety of different kinds of societal expectations, they may or may not support my own values. And so I've had to, and it's been helpful actually to have that as a place to start and say, is this really what's important to me, or is there something else that, like Noora said, makes me happy, and that's what I should be focusing on. So a lot of societal expectations are kind of superficial, and they don't really contribute to the meaning in my life or support my longer term happiness. And so I've kind of stopped buying into a lot of them. We talk a lot about being authentic, and this is about the process of developing who you are and your own sense of self, and it doesn't happen overnight. And so I think it is really hard for younger people, because they're inundated by everything that is around us and everything that we see and what our friends and our parents and society tells us. And so it's a process to come to the point where you actually stand back and look at that and analyze, let me think about what they're telling me, what underlying value does it hold, and does that serve me? So I think it's an important process to go through, and we all kind of have to do it at our own time.
Absolutely.
If I may add, I definitely think it's really hard, like trying to break out of that shell. I feel like, especially in the Bay Area, if I may like talk like holistically, we kind of live in this bubble, right? Like we live in, I think I can say especially at Los Gatos and Saratoga, like we live in this very selective bubble. And I think, like Mabel said, that our demographics are really like polar. Like there's a lot of one demographic and there isn't a lot of some other demographics. Like I'm Arab, I'm Lebanese, and I'm Palestinian, right? Like there aren't people that reflect the same cultural kind of dynamics like mine, right? And I found that really difficult because like growing up, you're told to like do these certain things and have these certain values, and then they kind of clash with like kind of the society that we're in today. And I find it really hard like trying to like adapt to who you are and finding that self-esteem and finding that confidence. And I think it took me a really long time. Like I knew I had to find my confidence. I knew I had to find the things that I love and keep doing it, but it's a really long road to like actually doing that. Like I only realized this between sophomore and junior year. I wish I realized it sooner, but I'm just saying, to those that are struggling, I definitely would say just keep fighting and keep going for it, because it's achievable. And like honestly, it's just super free. Like you say someone else is doing this, we're like, oh okay, cool. Like I'm doing my own thing. you should stop comparing yourself to each other, because at the end of the day, you're your own human being, you're your own soul, you're your own body, and just own it and just love it.
Yeah, and I also just really wanted to quickly add, what Noora just said with your story of like soccer. So I was also, I didn't play soccer, but I was a dancer for 10 years. And then just recently I kind of, I quit just because of like the like stereotypical like ideas that, dancers all have like eating disorders or like starve themselves and everything like that. And just hearing like all about that has definitely kind of made me kind of lose confidence in that art and kind of just like want to like steer away from it. And I think starting from like the second semester of last year, when we like first went remote, was definitely when I started kind of finding my groove again, because it had been already a year. And so, what Noora had said, like, it doesn't matter like what others think. And, it's like, if I love it, then, obviously I'm going to do it. And so I definitely kind of broke out of that like shell and broke out of like believing that, dancers are all unhealthy or are all, like starving themselves and everything. And I kind of just like was able to like move away from that and find my love for it again. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it, Barbara.
So it's interesting that you guys have raised a couple of stereotypes, right? About what a dancer is like, or what a woman is like, if they're supposed to be, masculine or feminine or whatever, what they're allowed to be. And it's also interesting that, so we, in the HAERT program, we talk, and obviously not everybody who sees this webinar will see the HAERT program, but in the HAERT program, we talk about how we can cope with stress as using a technique called tend and befriend. And so the examples that you guys gave, where you're going into an area where there's a stereotype around it, you can be this breaker, the role model of those stereotypes, right? And change it up, just kind of like the US women's soccer team has totally changed it up about females in sports. I mean, they're a world-winning team, right? Julie, the same with you in terms of like being maybe one dancer who doesn't have body image issues or doesn't have eating disorders, and use your strengths as a role model to deal with the stress of, it is stressful to be dealing with everybody's expectations, but I'm doing it out of making myself a role model for other young women or other people who want to be different or want to break the stereotypes. So that's one way to handle the stress that you might feel of kind of dealing with that stereotype or breaking the mold.
Yeah, definitely. If I may say one more thing for this question, I am actually the only like female on both sides of my family that plays soccer. And I think that's super crazy, because I have eight on one side and 8 on the other, like eight siblings on one side and 8 siblings on the other, and they all have kids. And I have a cousin who loves playing soccer, but they're told that they're not supposed to play because it takes away from her school and like her home life and all this and all that. But like every time I go and visit, I always make sure that we play soccer, because it's something that she loves and it's something that she wants to do more of. And I like being that kind of cousin that like tells her to do what you love and not fit into this mold that you're supposed to be. You're supposed to go to school and you're supposed to do this, and then you're supposed to get a job, and then you're supposed to get married, and then you're supposed to quit your job, and then you're supposed to raise your family, and this and this and that. It's just, I feel like as a woman, like you're always told that you're supposed to do these certain things and you can't like break out of that. And I find that a lot like in our society today, and thank God that there's activists out there that are like breaking that mold and breaking that societal barrier. And I feel like doing something that you love and doing something that you find that's enjoying definitely brings out your self-confidence, because you're able to express the things that you love and the things that you do, and then it just makes yourself feel better. Like whether it be like doing yoga, like I love doing yoga, so like whenever I do yoga, it just makes me happy, or like whenever I play soccer, it makes me happy, right? And then I like express that aura like around me, you know. And I feel like finding those things and like helping other people like do these different things is what makes you feel better, at the same time supporting other people.
Yeah, for sure. Gotta keep those dreams alive, man.